Now, the fallout continues from a Super Sunday derby that has left Pep Guardiola questioning whether he is still good enough to lead Manchester City. 2 late goals for rivals United mean it's now 8 defeats in City's last 11. Let's get more now from Ben Ransom, who is at the Etihad for us. Ben, I know you've interviewed Guardiola so many times through the last decade or so. Are you surprised to hear him talking in this very self-critical way?
Yeah, it's been a change of tack. There's no doubt about that. He's always had an air of confidence, and it's always been based on success, because you look at the huge number of games they've won. You look at the trophies that he's added to the cabinet since he's been here, and at all of his clubs, Bayern Munich and Barcelona before. He always came with that track record of success, which he delivered upon year on year. But for some reason, something does feel a little bit amiss right now, and I think he honestly is struggling to put his finger on exactly what the issue was. If we rewind to his pre-match press conference ahead of the derby, he spent half an hour or so talking to the assembled media about the schedule and how that was ultimately to blame, and how he wasn't overly concerned by things like players getting old, which is one of the criticisms that's been levelled at this Manchester City team. He was basically saying, look, if the schedule was not as punishing, we wouldn't have as many injuries, we'd have all the right players available, and the same players that won the Premier League for a record 4th consecutive time in the summer would be delivering right now, and City would be right at the top, challenging Liverpool where they would expect to be. But it's not as simple as that, because clearly after the game yesterday, the schedule wasn't a topic of conversation. It was suddenly on him. He was trying to shoulder that responsibility and asking for questions, because it is a puzzle. His body language in that press conference, he clearly looked anxious. He looked slightly uncomfortable. He was clearly scratching around for answers, and answers that were not forthcoming. And it's now been such a prolonged period when he's looked for those answers. He's starting, I believe, to question himself. And when he spoke to the media, his words as well were quite telling, I think. Here's a reminder of what he did say after the game yesterday.
The boss, I'm the manager, and I'm not good enough. It's as simple as that. I have to find a way to talk to them, to the training to them, to the way you have to play, the way I have to press, the way I have to build up. And I'm not good enough. I'm not doing well. That is the truth. It's not about this situation. This situation happened many times. I don't have defense, so I'm the boss, I'm the manager. I have to find a solution, and I don't find a solution. So this is a big club, and big club, when you lose 8-10, something wrong has happened. So I knew, I'll be honest, I knew that it will be a tough season from the beginning. I said many times, even when we were winning, but I didn't expect it was so hard like it was right now.
It's something that is clearly bugging at him, that it's not got right. It's not fixed itself almost by this point, because he clearly still believes in the players. Whether that was his way of trying to take the pressure off them and say, look, it's on me, this, leave the players aside, they will do their thing, and trying to take some of the heat, I'm not quite sure. He has been quite honest and open, I think. I think that's fair to say over the last few weeks. We've had now a number of press conferences, both pre-match and post-match, where we've spoken about these kind of issues, why it's not working, talking about his future, whether he regrets extending his contract and committing to another 2 years here at Manchester City. And at all times, he's always said, look, no, I believe I'm the right man for this job right now. And actually, because of the situation, I can't leave. But I also think in his heart of hearts, I think he believed by this point things would have started to turn around, and perhaps the blessing that comes with their exit from the League Cup is that he's got this week, for the first time in a long time, to spend that time on the training pitch with his players, trying to get a few more bodies back and available for what looks to now be a really crucial game, another crucial game, and another opportunity to end this seemingly endless winless run with a game against Aston Villa at the weekend.
Yeah, good point. A few days to try and find some answers. Ben, thanks very much indeed. That's Ben Ransom outside the Etihad Stadium. Well, since the start of November, no team in the Premier League has fewer points per game than Manchester City. In fact, only Southampton, bottom of the table, Southampton maps City's ratio. And questions are now being raised over Guardiola's future at the club.
Good managers usually take all the pressure off all their players, and they put it upon themselves. And they're obviously going through a very, very bad period, and he's feeling it as much as anyone. As we spoke about last week, he would never have been through this throughout his career as a player, nor definitely as a manager, as we know. There's an argument for the fact that they've been so successful and set such high standards, and we know about the obvious ones, the Rodri injury and other little things, but the main thing being that they were always going to go through a period like this. I just don't think that they banked on, perhaps, or anyone did, of it going on for so long. And, habits in football, just like habits in life, are easy to get into and hard to break out of. They're in a habit now, as they have been in the opposite end of the spectrum when they were winning, of basically making mistakes that are proving really costly.
Well, the 2-1 defeat yesterday means City have now conceded the second most goals in Europe's top 5 leagues over the last 6 weeks. Amad Diallo completing that late turnaround for their rivals, which makes Ruben Amorim the first Manchester United coach to win their first derby since Sir Alex Ferguson.
I had no faith or trust in these players to come here today and win, even as bad as City are. But that kid has lit my weekend up. Honestly, he absolutely has. But he has to, even out of tonight, make even more bold decisions, because there are a lot of players in that squad who are not good enough to get Ruben Amorim where he wants to be and keep him in a job. Simple as that. Don't think for 1 second over the next few years that the players that have won you this game today are going to be able to win you games and get you to where you need to be to keep you in a job, because the others in the past have been conned by finishing second, winning a FA Cup, and they've lost the jobs eventually.
So I ask the question again at the end of the season, because I think this is going to be a little bit of an up and down roller coaster for Manchester United from now until the end of the season. He doesn't quite know his best 11. He's had issues off the pitch, obviously, with Marcus Rashford and then Garnacho as well. So he's got issues there that he needs to sort out. So there's going to be ups and downs. I thought yesterday's game was lacking in quality, huge quality, and that's incredible to say when you think Manchester City are involved in it. But United they're a poor team. They're not a great team. Let's not take anything away from the result, but they beat a team that is in massively low in confidence, who's struggling to find a style at the moment to get anything out of a game. They look leggy, they look lethargic, and United only just beat them. So let's not get carried away and say United are back. They're far from back. They'll face bigger obstacles this season and tougher obstacles, because they've got Manchester City at the lowest point, the lowest of the low. So, we could be sat here next week saying United have just lost again.